Well, good morning and welcome to Fox 29 News Now on this chilly Tuesday morning. It is January the 29th. Well, rain and snow will move into the area today ahead of bitter cold temperatures. Fox 29's Sioux area forecasts that rain will change to snow in Philadelphia between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., and the snow will taper off for most of the area around midnight. Philadelphia will see between 1 to 2 inches of snow with higher accumulation expected in the north and west. The brutal cold moves in Wednesday morning with temperatures in the teens and single digits. On Thursday morning, the area will see the coldest temperatures so far this winter. Temperatures in Allentown will feel like negative 16 degrees, and it will feel like negative 8 degrees in Philadelphia. For more, you can download the Fox 29 Weather Authority app for the latest forecast. And speaking of low temperatures, this time last year, Mike and Alex were bracing for the cold in Minnesota. Why? Well, because the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl. Here's a look back at their time in the freezing cold and also a live look now in Minnesota with Ray Bogan.
Okay, not the chief. All right. 1 year ago this week, we were in Minnesota getting ready for the big Super Bowl. It was a Tuesday morning. We were freezing our faces off.
And so I thought the only logical thing that we could do when it's so freezing cold outside, go outside and go fishing.
You can't make this up.
How do you like your steak? Medium rare?
Okay, it's 3 degrees. They're not biting out here. Maybe if I go in the ice house, right? That's what they're there for. So I'm going to go in there, and maybe I'll have better luck in there. What are you doing?
You're scaring the fish.
Yeah, you could fish from inside the ice house.
Yeah, but you had me fishing outside in the cold.
Well, she just said, Ray, that it was 3 degrees last year on this day. What's the temperature now in Minneapolis?
Mike and Alex, I got you beat. Right now, it's 6 degrees below zero.
Whew.
By the end of the day, it could be 12 degrees below zero with a wind chill factor of 45 degrees below zero. And then tomorrow, how about this? It could be, with a wind chill, 65 degrees below zero. Very, very cold. I don't think I truly understood bone-chilling cold until I stood right here.
Well, what did you do to get this assignment? My gosh, Ray.
Yeah, who'd you P.O.?
Well, you know what? I've got a great assignment coming up this weekend. I'm going to be at the Super Bowl, where I looked at the forecast in Atlanta, and it's supposed to be in the upper 50s and low 60s. So this is what I have to do to get there. It's totally fine. But let me show you a little bit of the lay of the land here in Minneapolis, because despite the fact that school districts are being shut down today and tomorrow because of the concerns about frostbite for a lot of the kids, it's actually been very active. We've been standing here all throughout the night. This is Highway 495 right here. There have been many, many cars driving back and forth. The airport is just on the other side of that. There have been jets landing and taking off all throughout the night. There are very few delays and cancellations. So despite the fact that this wind chill is so bad and the temperature as of right now is about 6 degrees below zero, Minneapolis is doing a pretty good job of keeping things running.
Because they're Minnesotans.
Right, I guess they're used to it.
Well, of course they are. They're Vikings, come on. For God's sake. That, you know, this coming here.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you're a Viking, you can still feel it.
That's true. The schools are still closed.
We'll see what happens over the next couple of days.
Yeah. Wait, Ray, where are you from?
Yeah, it's
Where'd
supposed
you grow
to get up at... Oh, my good friends here. I am from the Jersey Shore, Monmouth County. So I have you guys on my television when I go to visit my parents.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
That's right. It doesn't really get down to 65 below in Monmouth County, does it?
Oh, Ray.
No, it doesn't. No, this is a new one for me.
Well, Ray, if it makes you feel any better, we were in your position this time last year. So we have an idea, maybe not this much of an idea, but
close.
we have an idea of how cold that feels.
Nice job, Ray.
Good luck.
Wow, yes. We hope to see you again. Really, I hope we see him
Hope
again.
you survive. He looked nice and layered up, though, so
Yeah,
that's
he's
good.
looking
It's
good.
all about the layers and the hand warmers.
And hand warmers.
I put hand warmers in all kinds of places.
But he said 65 below.
Wind chill.
65 below.
Coming up in hopefully just a couple minutes here, Mayor Kenney will sign an executive order establishing the Philly Count's 2020 office and the formation of the Complete Count Committee. The Complete Count Committee will be an advisory group of city, nonprofit, and business leaders who will develop strategies to support key aspects of the census effort. This event will kick off the city's effort to ensure a complete and accurate census in 2020. That'll be coming up in just a few minutes with Mayor Kenney, Joanna Otero Cruz, Stephanie Reed, and Fernando Armstrong. They will all be speaking at this event.
Good morning. Buenos días. Thank you for all being here. My name is Joana Cruz, Deputy Managing Director of Community Services. I'm going to welcome you all here this morning to City Hall. The Constitution mandates that all people be counted every 10 years in the National Census. The effort is led by the United States Census Bureau and requires support from local government, business, and nonprofit leaders. Census data is used to determine congressional representation and distribution of more than $675 billion in federal funding. Philadelphia organizations receive more than $3.3 billion in federal funds each year. Obtaining a complete and accurate count is crucial to the continued funding of our public and social service infrastructure. This is why we have created the Philly Counts 2020 office, which will be housed within the Community Services Cluster to lead the work. We have hired Stephanie Reed as the director of the office, and you will be hearing from her shortly. But before that, let's hear from our great mayor, Jim Kenney.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. And it's hard to believe it's almost time for the 2020 census. We need to start preparing now, and the establishment of this new office is essential to making that Philadelphia's population is counted fairly and accurately. A complete and accurate count will ensure that we will get our fair share of funds for the Medical Assistance Program and Medicare Part B, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance programs, SNAP, school lunch programs, special education grants, highway funding, Section 8 housing, federal Pell grants, and much, much more. These are supports and services that are critical to the health of our city, and we cannot afford an undercount. The census has always required a large-scale coordinated effort. However, this time the Trump administration has added some additional challenges, as they would always do. With the creation of the Philly Counts office and the Complete Count Committee, we're going to make sure that these challenges don't stop us from getting the most accurate count possible and securing our fair share of federal funds and congressional representation. For the first time since 1950, the Trump administration has proposed adding a citizenship question to the census. Currently, there are numerous legal challenges to the inclusion of that citizenship question. We know that the addition of this question has added to the already elevated fears in our immigrant communities. The federal government shouldn't be using the census as a tool to scare immigrants and deter them from being included in the count. It's also important to know that all census data is protected by federal law and is used for statistical purposes only. It cannot be used against you by any government agency or court. With that being said, I would like to thank Stephanie Reed and Joana Cruz for their leadership in establishing this office and making sure that the final census count reflects Philadelphia's large, diverse population. So don't be afraid to be counted. We really need we need every head counted. We need everybody being taken into consideration for living in our city, in our state, in our country, and don't let Donald Trump scare you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And we have great leadership in the city. I'd like to welcome Councilman Green to say a few words.
Good morning. I want to thank Mayor Kenney for his leadership in creating this Philly Counts initiative. I want to thank both Joana and Stephanie for coming in and to take on the leadership of this new office. This is a very important issue. You heard Joana state the hundreds of millions of dollars that come to the city of Philadelphia based on our involvement in the census. And it's so important. Just like voting is a civic right, we need to make sure that every person that's possible can participate in the census. As Mayor Kenney said, the current administration in D.C. has made it harder and actually discouraged people from participating in the census. That's why in City Council I introduced a resolution to challenge Commerce Director Wilbur Ross on adding that citizenship question to the census, and that's being addressed in our courts. We also are having hearings in City Council to also raise the awareness regarding citizenship and the census, because it's something that's very important. Too often we are not counted in the city of Philadelphia. Those of us who are people from Philadelphia but maybe away because they're incarcerated, they're included in those citizenship counts in those counties. not here in the city of Philadelphia. That's why we need to make sure that we are very actively engaged in making sure that every person can be counted, that should be counted, to make sure we get all the dollars that we need to benefit the city of Philadelphia. So this is not just a civil rights issue, but it's also an economic development issue to make sure all the dollars that we need for the city of Philadelphia comes to the city of Philadelphia to make sure we can provide the best quality of life in our city. So I'm glad to be here. I'm going to thank Mayor Kenney for his leadership, and both Joanna and Shannon for their leadership in the Philly Counts. And please make sure when you leave this press conference, you get the word out, you tell someone how it's very important to participate in the census, and make sure you don't get discouraged, and make sure that your participation is counted. Thank you.
I'm really happy to be able to introduce Stephanie Reed, who's the director of the office. I had the privilege to work with her at different capacities under our cluster as she led Office of Community Services and served Philly in particular, and has done an amazing job. And she truly came on with her skates on. She's really, rolled up her sleeves and began planning. As we do in community services, we do everything to collaboration and partnership. So we'll also hear from Fernando Armstrong from the Census Bureau. So I'm turning it over to Stephanie first, and then we'll hear from Fernando.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Joanna, the mayor, the councilman, for your leadership. It is such an honor to be able to serve the people of Philadelphia as the executive director of Philly Counts 2020. As you've heard, we're facing new challenges in the 2020 census, which will make the role of cities more important than they have ever been in past years. Philly Counts will play a critical role in our city's ability to obtain a complete and accurate count of all people. The Constitution mandates the count of all people is essential to our democracy, and we are committed to working with partners throughout the city to ensure this to the best of our ability. Each year, Philadelphia organizations receive more than $3 billion in federal funds that are distributed based on census data. This money provides much-needed health and housing support for the most marginalized in our communities. It funds upgrades to our infrastructure and key aspects of our public schools. The stakes could not be higher. My office is charged at building a comprehensive coalition that will work together to ensure all residents of Philadelphia understand what's at stake and stand up to be counted. The Philly Counts office will have 3 primary goals that will guide our work. Our first goal is to convene key stakeholders through the Complete Count Committee. A Complete Count Committee is a volunteer committee established by the City of Philadelphia to increase awareness about the 2020 census and motivate residents in the community to respond. The committee will provide guidance and support for increasing the response rate for residents completing their questionnaire through a focused neighbor-to-neighbor program, providing local knowledge, expertise, and influence on the design and implementation of a census awareness campaign targeted to the local community, and bringing together a cross-section of community leaders and community members whose focus is 2020 census awareness and a complete and accurate count. Our second goal is to support Census Bureau hiring. The Census Bureau will be hiring more than 3,000 temporary workers to support the 2020 census. It's imperative that the census workers are from communities where they work. To support census hiring efforts, the Complete Count Committee will have a census jobs subcommittee that develops and implements strategies for recruitment, application, and training support. We'll work closely with the Census Bureau to identify communities with a low number of applicants and provide support and increase awareness about applications in those targeted communities. We want every Philadelphian to know if you are looking for work, the census jobs may be temporary, but they're good paying jobs that offer resume boosting experience. In 1999, I was a student working my way through college. I was taking night classes in business, and I remember seeing an ad for jobs with the census. It talked about how you could be part of history and work on the 2000 census. At the time, I was running after-school programs and summer camps at the YWCA, and I often worried, how was I going to get that experience in an office that would allow me to transition into something in the business world? I had never worked in an office setting, and I just needed that first step in the door so that I could show people I would work hard and I would learn my way. The census was that opportunity for me. and I know it can be a similar opportunity for many other people in Philadelphia. Our third goal is to encourage census participation in all efforts to ensure a complete and accurate count. Our Complete Count Committee will have subcommittees that focus on many Philadelphia special interest communities and hard-to-count populations. These subcommittees will work to develop and implement strategies to bridge the digital divide and ensure every resident in Philadelphia can complete the census online if they desire to do so. They will develop and implement strategies to engage the most marginalized residents and ensure they participate in the census. And they will support volunteer engagement and recruitment efforts and develop earned, paid, and social media strategies. We will be calling on people to talk to their neighbors about why the census matters, and to be sure that your friends and family understand that all information submitted to the census is safe and cannot be used against you by any government agency or court. We cannot let misinformation deprive us of our fair share of federal funds. These goals will require an extraordinary level of coordination between local government, business, nonprofit, and faith leaders. Key to our success will be working closely with our federal partners at the U.S. Census Bureau. I've been warmly welcomed by the staff at the Philadelphia Regional Census Office, and they have offered support and resources to me and to my office in the Complete Count Committee. I'm grateful for the partnership that we've already formed and know that it will be critical to our efforts. I am pleased to introduce now Fernando Armstrong, Director of the Philadelphia Regional Census Center.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks for everyone for being here. It was about 230 years ago that we did the first census in 1790. And it's important that we benchmark it with Philadelphia. It was precisely in Philadelphia where our founding fathers decided to create a new country, and that country was, in many, many ways, representative of the country, of the people. And it is precisely the census which continues to allow us to make the country counted, make it present. Nothing has changed in terms of that mandate to get the apportionment of the House. Like Mayor Kenney, I want to reinstate and reassure the public that the census is confidential. The information will not be shared with any law enforcement or any other agency. I thank the mayor and the city council for their involvement and their support. We are extremely pleased to be supporting the Philly Count effort. Stephanie and I have been working together for a couple of weeks. I look forward to supporting their effort. We have a lot of things we can do together, and we need help from the public. We need help from the community. We need help from our partners. So I encourage you to go back and think, how can I assist this effort? We have jobs, but we also need the word to go out about the importance of the census, about the fact that it's safe, it's confidential, and that it's something we do every 10 years, and we live with it for 10 years. So we won't have another opportunity in 10 years. We have to do it right. And you have my commitment, the commitment of my staff, that we will do everything we need to do to make sure we have a good count in 2020. Thank you.
So the mayor now will sign an executive order declaring the office of Philly 2020, Philly Counts 2020. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
once again, that was Mayor Kenney signing the executive order that will kick off the city's efforts for Census 2020. I do want to jump over right now to the World Threats hearing. This is going on in Washington, D.C., so let's take a look.
With a gorilla that's starting to get to be about the same size we are. And as a result of that, we're going to have to learn to deal with that. The thing I really want to focus on is how we're going to deal with that. We're Americans. We've always competed. We can compete. We innovate. We create. We manufacture. We do the great things that we do that have really led the world. But we can only do it if we're operating under a rule of law. And that is something that is greatly missing at the present time as China tries to compete with us. The poster child for me is a local company we have in Idaho, Micron Technology. Most of you have heard of them. They're the second largest manufacturer of memory in the world. And they have had a recent case where Chinese nationals stole intellectual property and then took it back to China and are now suing Micron in China through a state-owned entity in a state-owned court in front of a state-owned judge. And this is the kind of thing that we just can't have. I had a spirited discussion with the Chinese ambassador about this as he attempted to defend the undefendable. And his suggestion was that, well, things aren't as advanced in China as they are here. Well, I get that. They've come a long ways in a few decades. But if we're gonna do this and keep the world order in right side up, China's going to have to develop their rule of law and live by it much better than what they have recently. We just saw again the indictments against the Huawei official, and in defense of the Department of Justice, Department of Treasury, and others, they've indicted these Chinese people that have affected Micron. And the question I have for you is, after listening to the Chinese ambassador, I'm not wholly convinced that their efforts are going to be as robust as they need to be to get China right side up when it comes to the rule of law. And when I'm talking about the rule of law, I don't mean just covert theft, but I mean what I call overt theft, and that is where they require businesses, as we all know, to divulge their information before they can do business in China, and then having the kind of restrictions they have on them in China. And all of this causes us real difficulty as we attempt to compete. Director Coates, I wonder if you could address that or assign it to somebody there at your panel. I'm looking for what do we see in the future, number one, and number two, how can we try to get our arms around this to do something about it?
Well, I'll start, but I'd like to turn to Director Ray relative to what was just released yesterday, and which pointed, I think, in the direction of what you were talking about. But frankly, while we were sleeping in the last decade and a half, China had remarkable rise in capabilities that are stunning. A lot of that was achieved. Significant amount of that was achieved by stealing information from our companies, by inserting Chinese in certain of our labs, or bringing back technological stolen properties, which China engaged. You can talk to any number of everything from automobile manufacturers to sophisticated software, as well as R&D for military. I think General Ashley can speak to that on the military side. I think we could go down the panel here and discuss for a significant amount of time the kind of actions China has taken to become a competitor, but also to gain superiority, and what they're doing and how they're spreading it around the world through their Belt and Road Initiative and a number of other initiatives. It's a serious issue that has to be dealt with. You are right on target in terms of saying that rule of law and international norms and fairness in trade and engagements is not the Chinese model. encounter it, we have to expose it. It was exposed yesterday in a significant way relative to telecommunications, and Director Wray can talk about that. We have alerted our allies. They are now second-guessing in questioning their initial responses to China. Oh, it's a great market. We need to get over there. Don't worry about anything else except selling our product. They're now finding that their product has been duplicated by the Chinese and sold for half the price because they didn't have to spend as much money on research and development. So it is, we are working with the chairman, the vice chairman, and with the committee actually to try to be as transparent as possible with our company heads. We've been traveling around the United States, meeting with CEOs and others. We're dialing up a program with the, I think I ought to stop right there, and the rest of this ought to go into a secure a setting in terms of how we're dealing with this, but I'd love to turn to Director Wray relative to what they're doing.
Senator, I completely share your observations, and I would just say that one of the things that the American people, I think, are now sort of waking up to understand is that the Chinese government, the lines between the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party are blurred, if not totally erased. The lines between the Chinese government and Chinese state-owned enterprises, the same. The line between the Chinese government and ostensibly private companies for all the reasons you described, and especially the line between lawful behavior and fair competition and lying and hacking and cheating and stealing. And one of the things that I've been most encouraged about in an otherwise bleak landscape is the degree to which, as Director Coates was alluding to, American companies are waking up, American universities are waking up, our foreign partners are waking up. And it's one of the few issues that I find when I engage in the interagency and up on the Hill, covering from one end of the spectrum to the other, there seems to be actually more consensus than I've ever seen before in my career. And I think that's a positive, and we need to build on that.
Do either of the generals have, General Ashley?
Yes, sir. So, sir, you laid out the problem set very well. And what's been highlighted, this isn't just a U.S. issue, this is a global issue. When you think about the Internet of Things, when you think about the nature of global business and how corporations are integrated. And if it touches a company in Australia who may have a relationship with a company in the U.S., then we become connected. From a military standpoint, when you look at major acquisition from a Defense Intelligence Agency, one of the things we put against this is Supply Chain Risk Management Threat Analysis Center. So when DOD looks for major acquisition, we do the due diligence and research against those companies, but that challenge is getting more and more complicated because you think they either buy it, they steal it, or they can build it. But the nature of that business, you have things like white labeling, where you don't necessarily have to disclose the relationship, where you could sell a semiconductor, a chip, a piece of software, and ostensibly it is from your company, when in fact it may have been manufactured by a Chinese company. So that's the due diligence that we have to apply to look at the supply chain across all acquisition. And we got to bring all our partners in and illuminate the challenge and make sure they're doing the same due diligence, whether it's through CFIUS or other protocols.
Senator Heinrich.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Coates, in this hearing last year, you testified that you would recommend minimal access to classified documents to anyone without a permanent security clearance. You made that statement with regard to reports of multiple holders of interim security clearances in the White House. And now we are seeing published reports that dozens of times the White House has overruled the career FBI experts responsible for adjudicating security clearances, granting top secret clearances to White House officials. Would you still recommend minimal access to classified documents to those White House officials, since FBI experts recommended that they not be given those top secret clearances?
I do support the providing all the information necessary for not only the White House, but for all of our branches relative to providing security clearance. They have those authority to do that. We issue guidelines in terms of what
I understand they have the authority.
Adhered to.
I want to know, do you think that that the White House should take seriously the recommendations of those FBI experts?
To my knowledge, they do take seriously. It is their decision based on a whole number of factors. We've seen every administration issue clearances based on how they assess what is provided. Our job is to provide them the best information we have relative to security clearance processes so that they have the full picture in front of them when they make that decision.
Speaking of the full picture, last year we passed the Secret Act. As the Director of National Intelligence, do you think it's problematic that the administration has not complied with the portion of that law requiring the White House to report on its process for conducting security clearance investigations?
I'm not aware that that has happened. I'd be happy to look into that.
I would appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Director Wray, as I mentioned, we're seeing published reports that numerous times the White House has simply overruled career FBI experts responsible for adjudicating those clearances. In your view, were there valid reasons given for why the FBI's expert advice was overruled so many times?
Senator, I think there may be some confusion about the way the process actually works. The FBI is, in the context of providing background investigations for people other than its own employees, is what's called an ISP, or the investigative service provider. So we essentially do it at the request of whoever the requesting entity is. In this instance, it would be the White House. And I think where the confusion is what we do is we assemble the information, we provide the factual information. We do not actually make recommendations one way or the other about the clearances. The decision about what to do based on those facts is entrusted by longstanding process to the requesting entity. So we provide the information, but then they make the call.
Thank you, Director. Director Coates, I want to come back to you for a moment. Your office issued a statement recently announcing that you had submitted the intelligence community's report assessing threats to the 2018 midterm elections to the President and to appropriate executive agencies. Our committee has not seen this report. And despite committee requests following the election that the ODNI brief the committee on any identified threats, it took ODNI 2 months for us to get a simple oral briefing, and no written assessment has yet to be provided. Can you explain to me why we haven't been kept more fully and currently informed about those Russian activities in the 2018
Director
elections?
Coates, before you respond, let me just acknowledge to the members that the Vice Chairman and I have both been briefed on the report, and it's my understanding that the report at some point will be available.
Yeah, the process that we're going through are 2 45-day periods. One for the IC to assess whether there was anything that resulted in a change of the vote or tampering with machines, what the influence efforts were, and so forth. So we collected all of that, and then the second 45 days, which we then provided to the chairman and vice chairman, and the second 45 days now is with DHS looking and DOJ looking at whether there's information enough there to take to determine what kind of response that they might take. We're waiting for that final
so the rest of
information to come in. So that will be
coming
the
rest
shortly.
of us can look forward to reading that report.
I think we will be informing the chairman and the vice chairman of that, yes, of their decisions.
That's not what I asked. Will the rest of the committee have access to that report, Mr. Chairman? Chairman Burr.
Well, let me say to members, we're sort of in uncharted ground, but I make the same commitment I always do, that anything that the Vice Chairman and myself are exposed to, we'll make every request to open the aperture so that all members can see it. I think it's vitally important, especially on this one. We're not to a point where we've been denied, or we're not to a point that negotiations need to start. So it's my hope that once the final 45-day window is up, that is a report that will be made available probably to members only.
That would be my hope as well.
Senator Rubio.
Thank you. Director Ray, as we keep talking about China, and this takes off on what Senator Risch has already asked, using the academic community and the universities, commercial espionage, the forced transfer of intellectual property, embedding themselves potentially into the supply chain, obviously traditional counterintelligence work that they do and the like. Is it not fair to say that China today poses, just looking at the scale and scope of the threat, that China today poses the most significant counterintelligence threat this nation has faced, perhaps in its history, but certainly in the last quarter to century?
Well, I hesitate to speak, categorically about the entire course of history, but I certainly would.
Well, let's limit it to 25 years.
But I would certainly agree with you, Senator, that as I look at the landscape today and over the course of my career, I still think of myself as a little bit young, that the Chinese counterintelligence threat is more deep, more diverse, more vexing, more challenging, more comprehensive, and more concerning than any counterintelligence threat I can think of.
And in that realm, would it not make sense, and perhaps this is for you, Director Coates, that we would have a more coordinated approach to educate and prepare all the departments and agencies of government, as well as businesses, universities, just the scale and comprehensive nature of the threat? Would it not make sense to have some high-level coordination or a coordinated approach to be able to prepare all these different entities in our economy and society to deal with this threat?
We are working carefully with the committee. Particularly Senator Warner and Senator Burr both have engaged with us in terms of putting a program together to do just that. I turn to General Ashley for his comments on it also.
So the fact that we're having this discussion and that you've illuminated that, and even last year we talked about the Confucius Institutes, that word gets out. Since 2014, 13 universities have closed down the Confucius Institutes. U.S.-wide, I think the number is about 100. But again, my previous comment in terms of this is a global issue, while we've closed down about 13 in the U.S., there's been about a 23% increase globally in Asia, Europe, and other places, and there's probably about 320-plus institutes that exist globally. So the education is getting out from a U.S. standpoint, and it's trending the right way slowly. But again, it is a global problem, and we're as weak as the relationships with some of those partners subject to influence.
But this is now where I make the obligatory pitch. Senator Warner and I have filed a bill that creates an Office of Critical Technologies to help coordinate the response to this threat across the board. And so, and I know everybody in this committee is interested in this topic. I want to switch gears for a moment and maybe ask you this, the Director Coates, as well. If we look at the situation in Venezuela, which usually I raise in this committee, and people know it's important, but now it's really topical. So we've had 3 million migrants flow primarily into Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. It's projected to be 5 million if current trends continue by the end of this year, that would be a rival number to what we've seen in the Syria situation, and it most certainly has had a destabilizing effect on Colombia and other neighboring countries, to the point where some of these nations, very few nations, could take in 1 million migrants in one shot, not to mention that quickly. Imagine 2 million and the impact it's having on their government budgets, their healthcare systems, and the like. We know from Department of Justice filings and sanctions from Treasury that their government doesn't just tolerate drug trafficking, they give it the protection of government, and many high-level officials are active participants in narco-trafficking. We know that they have a long-standing relationship with Iran and with Hezbollah. We know they have openly and repeatedly, at least Maduro has, invited the Russians and Putin to establish either a rotational or permanent presence somewhere in Venezuela, thereby creating a Russian military presence in the Western Hemisphere. In fact, they flew about 3 weeks ago or a month ago 2 Russian nuclear-capable bombers into the Caribbean Sea. Seeing all these factors, what's happening in Venezuela, we care a lot about democracy, we care a lot about freedom, we care a lot about human rights. But when you add all these things together, the migratory impact on regional partners and how that spills over into the United States, their relationship with Iran and Hezbollah, the drug trafficking, because all that cocaine is destined to come into our streets, the invitation to the Russians to potentially have a military base, whether it's rotational or permanent in our hemisphere, is it not in the national interest of the United States of America that the Maduro regime fall and be replaced by a democratic and more responsible government?
Well, I think everything you said is been very open to the American public relative to the situation that exists in Venezuela. Our job as an intelligence community is to provide all the relevant information that you just talked about in terms of what the impact of what's happening in Venezuela and then throughout the region and the threat that it evolves from that. The decision as to how to address that obviously is a decision by the executive branch and by the president ultimately with the support of the National Security Council. We do obviously face a dire situation that has enormous consequences. I think nobody's more aware of that than you. You've been the person we turn to for almost ready to invite you into the intelligence community, given the information that you can provide for us, given your interest. I was remiss in not naming you as someone relative to China as taking a forward effort on the part of the committee and joining us in a number of ways to talk to CEOs and others around the country relative to the Chinese threat. With Venezuela, it's a very tenuous situation right now. As you know, we have taken steps in terms of recognition of the opposition as the legitimate president of Venezuela. Yesterday, the Treasury Department announced oil sanctions against a Venezuelan oil company. They're a major company that we do business with here also. So steps are being taken, and we have a lot of support from a lot of our allies. So, as I said, it's a very fluid situation that I think hopefully will be successfully resolved with the support of the Venezuelan people. And but we do assess, and I'll turn to General Ashley here, the influence of the military on that decision. I think the Venezuelan military on that decision probably is a key to what direction we might go in.
So I would say that everything you laid out is correct. We expect to see another 2 million refugees leave to add to the 3 million that will go into the region. The relationship that they have with Russia, China, Iran is a long-standing one, pre-existing. The reference you made to the Tu-160 Blackjacks that flew, those strategic bombers, third iteration of that. First time was in 2008 and then 2014, and we've seen it again. As far as presence on the ground, we can talk a little more detail in a closed session about where we see Russia and China going with that greater instability. But in the open press, what you've seen thus far really is nothing more than just vocal support that's coming out of Moscow and that's coming out of China as well. But there is a relationship there from a military standpoint in the way of training. Lots of Venezuelan officers go to Russia for training, and there's a reciprocal relationship for equipping them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In light of Senator Rubio's comments, I'd just like to note of caution. He listed refugee flows, human rights abuses, and corruption. There are lots of countries in the world that meet that description, and our right or responsibility to generate regime change in a situation like that, I think, is a slippery slope. And I have some real caution about what our vital interests are and whether it's our right or responsibility to take action to try to change the government of another sovereign country. That same description would have led us into a much more active involvement in Syria, for example, 5 or 6 years ago, other parts of the country. I just wanted to note that. Senator Burr, I loved your opening statement. It was very thoughtful, and you came up with a wonderful formulation for, I think, a mission of this committee and also the intelligence community of creative, adaptive, and resolute. And I must say it reminded me immediately of my old high school football coach who put it somewhat less elegantly. He said he wanted us to be agile, mobile, and hostile. I think that may be a less elegant way to put it, but the same principle. On Huawei, it seems to me they have to decide they're either going to be a worldwide telecommunications company or an agent of the Chinese government. They can't be both. And right now, they're trying to be both. And I think the world's customers, which the Chinese are certainly sensitive to, are the best enforcers of that principle. Director Haspel, one quick, I think, a yes or no question. And I think I almost said Senator Coates. Director Coates referred to this in his opening testimony. Is Iran currently abiding by the terms of the JCPOA in terms of their nuclear activities?
Senator King, I think the most recent information is the Iranians are considering taking steps that would lessen their adherence to JCPOA as they seek to pressure the Europeans to come through with the investment and trade benefits that Iran hoped to gain from the deal.
But since our departure from the deal, they have abided by the terms. You're saying they're considering, but at the current moment, they're
yes, they're making some preparations that would increase their ability to take a step back if they make that decision. So at the moment, technically, they're in compliance, but we do see them debating amongst themselves as they fail to realize the economic benefits they hoped for from the deal.
Thank you. Director Haspel and General Ashley, Mr. Khalilzad, our envoy to Afghanistan, has said that part of the basis of the current talks with the Taliban is that they would prevent Afghanistan from ever becoming a platform for international terrorist groups. And, of course, that was the basis of our original intervention. Do we believe them? And are they capable of that? Did they learn something from having given safe haven to Osama bin Laden? Do we believe that there's a mindset change that could be a enforceable or at least a reasonable expectation? Director Haspel.
Yes, Senator, and you're referring to very recent and fresh news that has come out of Ambassador Khalilzad's very intensive efforts over many months now, but particularly over the last 8 days in Doha, where he has been engaged in talks with the Taliban to seek to achieve a framework under which we could conduct...
Can we believe that the Taliban will do
well,
that?
Because we have inflicted severe damage on al-Qaeda in the AFPAC theater, I think, however, that all of us at this table would agree that it's very important that we maintain pressure on the terrorist groups that are there. And so if there were an eventual peace agreement, a very robust monitoring regime would be critical, and we would still need to retain the capability to act in our national interest if we needed to.
Thank you. Another note, Director Coates, you mentioned, I wouldn't say almost in passing, but it was just a sentence of your introduction, which I think is a very important point and may be the big news of right now what's going on. Increased cooperation between Russia and China. For a generation, that hasn't been the case. That could turn out to be a very big deal on the horizon in terms of the United States. If those two countries begin to work together systematically, that could be a big problem for us. One more quick question. Director Wray, you're doing a lot of monitoring and working on the intervention in our election process. One thing we're worried about is deep fake, which we've used but not defined. That's when they use technology to create essentially a false reality, an apparent speech by a candidate where different words are coming out of their mouth than what they actually said. Here's my question. If in the next 2 years, and particularly in the year preceding the next election, your agency determines that this is happening and that it's sponsored by a foreign entity, will you inform the candidates that are the victims of this, the committees? My concern is it's one thing for the Intelligence Committee to know that this is happening, but if they don't inform the people who are being victimized, who are being attacked in this way, I think that really blunts the effectiveness of the availability of the intelligence.
Senator, we have a fairly established protocol that we work through to try to determine whether or not we have information that is reliable enough and immediate enough and actionable enough to be able to notify a victim. The Department of Justice has a set of guidelines that goes through that. They've recently been expanded to provide us more flexibility in the foreign influence or malign influence arena, which this would be a permutation of, and we would expect to follow that process.
I hope you'll review that process, because telling the world of a malign influence a month after the election doesn't do anybody any good. So I hope that could be reviewed and thought about in terms of letting people know as soon as possible when there's a credible evidence of a foreign deep fake or other kind of cyber attack on a campaign.
Just to be clear, I wasn't referring to the sort of post-election process.
No, I understand.
The protocol that I'm talking about that's where the actionable piece of it comes into play, right? Obviously, the ability to be able to contact, just like we do in the cyber arena,
Well,
for example.
I just want to be sure our policies keep pace with the magnitude and accelerated nature of the threat.
Well, we clearly need to be, to your point about agility, we clearly need to be able to adapt as the technology adapts. And as Director Coates said in his opening, we would expect our foreign adversaries in the malign influence space to keep adapting as well, which is a source of concern.
We want you to be agile and mobile, maybe not hostile. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, General Ashley has a comment he would like to
If I go back to your comment on Huawei, Huawei needing to make a decision about the direction that they want to take with regards to how do they support the Chinese government or as an independent business. The challenge in which we've laid out part of the dialogue is that decision does not lie with Huawei. It lies with the CCP. It lies with Xi Jinping in the way that they are starting to centralize greater the management of those businesses. So therein lies the challenge where you see a decentralization and execution of capitalism, but really you have this kind of authoritarian capitalism in the way that the government provides oversight and puts very strict rules in place that makes it very problematic for a lot of those businessmen to operate without providing that information back to Beijing.
And I think the market has to tell them that's not acceptable. Thank you.
Agree.
Senator Collins.
Director Haspel, Director Coates described this morning a Russia that is aggressive across all fronts. Did the CIA have any concerns about the Treasury's actions to ease sanctions on companies associated with the close Putin ally, Oleg Deripaska, in terms of his ability to retain some informal control? This isn't a typical American company that we're dealing with.
Senator Collins, I don't think I'm expert enough to comment on Treasury's decision, but what I will say is that we work very hard to make sure that every agency and all of our senior agency leaders understand Putin's methodologies and what he will do to try and achieve what he perceives as Russia's place in the world and as a great power status. Moscow continues to grapple with the effect of Western sanctions. There have been very severe sanctions placed on them. I'm also, I think as an intelligence community, both Director Wray and I were very pleased with the decision to expel 61 Russian intelligence officers that has a tremendous impact on their ability to hurt us in our own homeland. So our job is to make sure that everybody understands Putin's efforts to influence globally and to enhance Russia's power status in the world. And we will continue to support Treasury as they look to impose sanctions. I think Treasury has been very, very aggressive on the sanctions front.
But did the CIA raise any concerns about the Treasury plan?
No, I don't believe we raised any concerns, but we provided all the supporting intelligence about the oligarch in question versus the aluminum company that you're referring to.
Let me switch to a different issue, and that is Syria. Let's assume that after we depart from Syria, the Assad regime takes control.
I do want to switch gears for just a moment here because a live press conference will be coming up. 5 officers hurt and 2 suspects are dead after a shooting in Houston. Police were serving a search warrant at an alleged drug house yesterday where they believed heroin was being sold. Someone started shooting when officers tried to enter the house, and police fired back, killing 2 suspects. 4 officers were shot, and another suffered a knee injury, but all are expected to survive. So right now in Texas, Police Chief Art Acevedo will be providing updates on those officers recovering from gunshot wounds. This is being held at the Memorial Hermann Hospital in the Texas Medical Center and will be starting any minute now.
Update on injured officers. AD, are you good? Okay. They're on their way down. Okay.
John.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for your patience for being here. What we're going to do this morning is first, Dr. McNutt is the chief of trauma surgery here in this institution that, like we said yesterday, we're very blessed in the city of Houston that we have medical facilities that are second to none, and I believe that many people that in other places may not survive because of the excellence of this hospital. Dr. McNutt will give you a medical update. Understand that there are HIPAA rules that have to be followed and other rules, so she will not be answering questions once she makes her statement. And then we'll go ahead and go through the incident and update the media on suspects and additional information we have today. So thanks, Dr. McNutt, for being here this morning.
Thank you. My pleasure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. As you all know, there were 5 Houston police officers injured in the line of duty who were taken to the Red Duke Trauma Institute at Memorial Hermann yesterday. Due to patient privacy and family wishes, I will only be updating you on 3 of their conditions. First of all 3 officers are currently stable. They're clinically stable in our hospital. One gentleman suffered a gunshot wound to the face, was taken to the operating room last night, is currently recovering and will undergo multiple other operations by our facial trauma team in the future. But again, he is stable right now. Another officer also sustained a gunshot wound to the face. Fortunately, he will not require surgery and will most likely be discharged home later today. He's doing well. And finally, the third officer also sustained a knee injury during the altercation. He has already undergone surgery by our orthopedic trauma team. He's also recovering and will most likely be sent home later this week. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our first responders, including the Houston Fire Department, who was available on scene, quickly assessed, treated, and transported the patient to our hospital. I also want to take this time to thank Memorial Hermann Life Flight and also all of the physicians, nurses, and techs in the ER and the operating room who did their job fantastic yesterday. Each step in trauma is critical. Time is of the essence. Time is extremely important, not only in the pre-hospital setting, but also once you arrive to the hospital. And I'm very proud of our team for doing their job yesterday. Memorial Hermann Hospital is here for the men and women who serve our community. We are also honored to take care of our police officers and our community and are always ready to help you if you're injured. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Dr. McNutt, again, on behalf of all of our officers, not just for yesterday, but for what you do, not just for our officers, but this community, we just want to say thank you. You use the word heroes all the time, but the doctors and nurses at this institution, the firefighters, everyone that was involved, the Life Flight, just they're all heroes in our eyes, and we're just very blessed. So again, thank you, and thank you for being here this morning. And so again, I want to update everyone on some of the information that you may or may not have. But let me just say that the involved officers are all undercover narcotics officers because of security concerns and some other issues and ongoing investigations. We will not be releasing names at this point, at this time, but you know, we're very much, Commander Follis, come up here. We're all believe in transparency, and when we can, we'll release more information. So I will be releasing today the names, not the names of the officers, but their age, not years of service, just to give you a flavor for the type of individuals that we have. As you know, yesterday, about 4:30, shortly before 5 o'clock, narcotics officers from the Houston Police Department, from the Group 15, initiated a search warrant at the location at the 700 block of Harding Street. Upon making entry, they immediately came under fire. The first officer through the door, armed with a shotgun, was charged immediately by a very large pit bull that charged at that officer. He discharged rounds that we know that the dog was struck and killed. At the same time, a male suspect came from around the back and started an open fire with a .357 Magnum revolver. That officer was struck in the shoulder. He went down, fell on the sofa in the living room, at which time a female suspect went towards that officer, reached over the officer, and started making a move for his shotgun. At that time, backup officers, other officers in the staff that made entry, discharged their firearms, striking that female suspect. An exchange of gunfire continued between that officer who was struck. The first, the officer that I described yesterday, that's 54 years of age, this is the third time in his career he's been shot. And this guy, he's 54, and here he is, not retired, but actually being the case agent. That officer, who's actually the officer that breached the door, and when you breach the door, you don't make entry, your other officers make entry, immediately knew that he had his partners were down, and he made entry. When he made entry, he himself got shot. After we had 2 officers down and another one shot, the remaining officers in the stack started laying down cover fire, left positions of cover themselves, and they all, I believe, heroically pulled their fellow officers out of harm's way. And then we all know what happened between Life Flight, EMS, and Houston Police, where we escorted everybody here either by ambulance or by helicopter. The injured officers, the officer that was shot in the face, again, that hopefully will be released sometime today or tomorrow or sometime this week, is a 50-year-old sergeant and a 25-year veteran of the Houston Police Department. Another officer that sustained the injury to his knee that actually required surgery and has been completed and will probably get out this week is a 50-year sergeant and a 50-year-old sergeant and a 27-year veteran. The officer that I described, senior officer I described, is 54 years old and a 32-year veteran, and the case agent is the one that after he saw his fellow officers come under fire, he heroically made that entry, and I'm just going to say it, he just passed a note to one of us, one of our officers that said, I had to get in there because I knew my guys were down. And that just speaks volumes as to this man and just his courage under fire. And another officer was a 33-year-old officer, 10-year veteran, and he sustained, again, a shoulder wound, and he was released yesterday, but he did sustain a shoulder wound from the gunfire. The last officer that was struck, you all know that we talked about him yesterday, but the family has asked that we not talk further about his medical condition, but I will say this, he's in a fight, he's stable, but we need to pray for all these officers, especially the last officer. We just need the community's prayers for him and his family and for all these officers, including the ones that weren't shot. You can imagine the guilt that gets in, the what ifs, the second guessing, why wasn't me, all those things. So all these officers need prayers. Now, the investigation is ongoing as to the officers that I mentioned that have been shot in terms of which ones, we haven't been able to debrief them, so we can't tell you which one of them at this point, specifically who returned fire. But I can tell you that the officers that effected the rescue and returned fire that were part of the initial stack, there was 9 officers in that stack. One is a 30-year veteran, a 30-year-old officer and a 9-year veteran. The second officer, and these guys were newer on the team, so they were back in the stack, is a 32-year-old officer and a 10-year veteran. Another officer is a 37-year-old officer and an 8-year veteran. And the last officer that discharged that we have determined so far is a 36-year-old officer and an 11-year veteran. We do not have cameras on us when we make these entries. There were no cameras, no body-worn cameras. So if everyone's is wondering about that, they need to know that we do not have cameras. The officer, that's the 54-year-old officer, 32-year veteran, this is his third time being shot. He was shot in the line of duty in 1992 and again in 1997. We have identified our suspects, and our suspects next of kin have been notified, and I'm going to, if Bobby, can you hold the suspects, and one of you guys hold the suspects? The female suspect that you see there that actually was shot in the living room when she went to grab the fallen officer's shotgun is identified. She's a female white, identified as, and I will spell it out for you. First name Regina, R-H-O-G-E-N-A. Regina, R-H-O-G-E-N-A. Last name of Nicholas, N-I-C-H-O-L-A-S. N-I-C-H-O-L-A-S. She was 58 years of age. The male suspect that actually engaged in the firefight with the officers is 59 years of age. He's also a white male, and he is identified as Dennis, D-E-N-N-I-S, Tuttle, T-U-T-T-L-E. Tuttle, T-U-T-T-L-E. The female is Regina, R-H-O-G-E-N-A. Last name of Nicholas, N-I-C-H-O-L-A-S. 58-year-old white female. We're not going to talk about their criminal histories. That's part of the investigation, and we've got a lot to go into their background to see what we can learn about. That's part of our ongoing investigation. A search warrant was conducted last night, and a search of the premises revealed the presence of marijuana in the location. We also recovered another drug, white powdery substance believed to either be cocaine or potentially fentanyl. We recovered two 12-gauge shotguns, one 20-gauge shotgun, one 22 caliber rifle, and one Remington 700 rifle. Those are the items that were recovered in the target location. The investigation into that location will continue, and the investigation into the officer-involved shooting will continue with the assistance of the Harris County District Attorney's Office. Obviously, our Special Investigations Unit, which is our specialized unit that conducts investigations to officer-involved units, and lastly, the Internal Affairs Unit that will conduct an administrative review into everything from A to Z, tactical plans, everything that went into this operation to ensure that all departmental policies were adhered to. All the officers that were involved in the officer-involved shooting will be placed on administrative leave consistent with the departmental policy. They've all been debriefed. We've had psychological teams. We had 3 of our psychologists here yesterday. Our peer support folks were here yesterday, and our peer support and psychological services will also be debriefing family members of our involved employees or any of our employees that need it, our dispatchers, and just the rest of our team. And so with that, I think I've covered everything I needed to cover, and I will open it up to questions from anyone.
Who's the officer that was discharged already? Which one was he?
Are you serious to not already tell you guys that? Let me get my little cheaters back on. He was the one that's already discharged. Was a 33-year-old, 10-year veteran, and he was discharged yesterday. And he actually did sustain a gunshot wound to the shoulder.
Chief, you mentioned this officer that was shot 3 times.
Yeah.
In the line of duty. Undercover officers. How dangerous is this line of work?
Well, police work is 2 things that you know about police work. It could be tremendously boring, 98% of the time, and extremely dangerous and dynamic 2% of the time. But we know that they're always in danger, and it's dangerous business we're in. And we know that, we live in a society where there's a proliferation of firearms, where you can assume there'll be firearms just about every location that you hit. And unfortunately, some people just don't have a respect for the sanctity of life. And so, but what I'll tell you, I am going to rub that man for 2 reasons. One, I want someone who's courage to rub off on me, and then the other thing I want to, he's done something good in life that God really watches over him.
And I know you can't identify him, but what can you say about him? Did you know him personally?
He's a big teddy bear. He's a big African American. Strong ox, tough as nails, and the only thing bigger than his body in terms of his stature is his courage. I mean, I don't know. I think God had to give him that big body to be able to contain his courage, because the man's got some tremendous courage. He went in there, and like I said, he passed a note this morning. I had it going, and I'll get emotional thinking about it. I had it going. My guys, I knew my guys were down. So, what else? Chief, were all of the officers that were wounded inside, were all wounds sustained inside the building? Inside, either inside or at the doorway. So it was a very tight quarter. Unfortunately, when you're going through a door, that's really a fatal funnel. And once you go through the door and you have the first officer that went in with the shotgun go down, our officers don't have a choice. They've got to enter that fatal funnel, go through. The tactical advantage really is in the hands of the suspect. But that's what they get paid to do. You know your brother's down, your sister's down, you go in. That's what they did, and we're very proud of it. The suspects knew full well that the officers were going to be going in into that house? That's part of the investigation. I can't tell you if they had a lot of drug houses, and I can tell you this. Chief Dobbins and I were talking about it. The neighborhood thanked our officers because it was a drug house at the community. There are eyes and ears, and that's how we started. And they said thank you. They described it as a problem location. They thanked the officers, but a lot of drug houses have surveillance systems that are better than the businesses use. I mean, you're in an illicit business, and we know that they protect and they want to know when the cops are coming. So that's part of the investigation.
Chief, I think the thing that's concerning that we're seeing a lot on social media because of all the transparency, yeah, people are thanking you all for taking the tip seriously and then moving in like you did yesterday. However, a couple of schools are in the area. Nice day yesterday. There are parks nearby, less than a quarter-mile away. And a lot of parents were asking, is this normal for you all to move in, knowing school buses and all of these things are happening? Can you speak a little to
Well, I
that?
can tell you that I'm not aware of a single school bus, and I didn't see a single kid in that neighborhood. And I got there, we were actually meeting with life's full of ironies. We were actually meeting the new special agent in charge of the DEA in my office at 1200 Travis when we get the call near 5 o'clock that we have officers down from Larry Bainbridge, our SWAT commander. And I got there fast enough that my Tahoe ended up one house from the target house. So if you imagine when 5 officers are down, how many cops are going to roll? You've been in the business long enough. So for me to be able to get to that spot, we got there pretty quickly. I didn't see any children, and I didn't see any school bus. And so, do we always think about doing things better? Absolutely. But I can assure you that the officers that are going to do the entry are not going to wait till they see the school bus unloading before they make the entry. I don't believe there's any evidence or any indication that any child was endangered at that time. And I can tell you again, I was there very quickly, and I didn't see any children.
Chief, you talked a little bit about the wounds that were sustained by the officers. Can you give us some perspective on were any of the officers shot in their bulletproof vests?
No, not that we're aware of. And by the way, I'll just say this: everybody has a family, and our condolences goes out to the suspects. I mean, at the end of the day, you engage police officers and you start shooting at police officers, they're going to shoot back. But that's somebody's loved one, and we send our thoughts out to the families. Right? We can't control who our family members are, and we can't control what they do. But it's a tragedy when you have a loss of life. There's nothing to celebrate other than we're just very fortunate that we had 5 officers injured, 4 shot, and they're all alive. What else?
How much did y'all know, going into whether the suspect would be armed or whether the dog would be there, or how much information intelligence they had beforehand?
That will.
The situation would be like?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're hitting a drug house, you can almost always make the assumption you're going to have armed suspects. Just yesterday, we had our press conference talking about our 2018 end-of-year crime, and one of the things that we told the community earlier yesterday was that the 3 greatest drivers of homicides in most big cities, including ours, are gang affiliation, drugs, and the third one is domestic violence. So, we try to work up houses as much as possible, but 99 times out of 100, we don't hang out in the house. We haven't been in the house. You just do the best you can. But that'll be part of our administrative review and obviously our SIU review on the tactical plan. Ultimately, when we have anyone shot, suspect or officers, we always look at the totality from beginning to end of how we conducted the operation to see if there's any lessons learned. That will be part of the review.
Chief, you look at the chatter among law enforcement officers that there's been a change in these operations where there was a time when you knocked down the door, the bad guys would pretty much give it up. And we've had now recent, I know this was the last one was not drug guys, but where they don't just surrender, they start shooting. Are we seeing a change in the way these guys are reacting to y'all's presence?
It would be anecdotal, and I don't want to just get into that. I don't want to speculate. There's suspects that when you say a police, they get on the ground, and there's suspects that could care less who it is. They're going to shoot at you. And in this case, the suspect decided to shoot, and then he came and actually at one point took his gun out the door and shot at the officers as they were reportedly shot at the officers as they were making the rescue. I'm going to do a little Spanish real quick because I know that some of them are live streaming. So, en español, estamos muy agradecidos al hospital. Como ustedes saben, ayer, como a las 5 de la tarde, 9 agentes de la División de Narcóticos fueron a hacer entrar a una casa con una orden de corte, y cuando abrieron la puerta inmediatamente un perro bien grande atacó con unos oficiales y al mismo tiempo un sospechoso hombre que identifiqué ya disparó a los oficiales. El primer oficial que entró con el shotgun, desgraciadamente uno de los balazos le dio a él y se cayó en uno de los muebles que estaba en la escena. El momento que cayó, la sospechosa, la mujer blanca de 58 años de edad, fue y trató de acabar el rifle del oficial, y cuando los oficiales vieron esa acción, dispararon para defender al oficial. El oficial que fue que abrió la puerta al empezar, vio que uno de sus colegas había estado balazado, entró y cuando entró también le metieron un balazo. Ese oficial tiene 54 años de edad, lleva 32 años en la policía y es un héroe. Porque le digo que ese oficial, esta es la tercera vez en su carrera que ha tenido heridas de armas de fuego por sospechosos. Y entró porque sabía que su colega estaba en peligro. Rescatarlo. Y para mí habla sobre el corazón de nuestra comunidad, el corazón de nuestros oficiales, el coraje de nuestros oficiales, y debemos todos estar orgullosos. También quiero que sepa la comunidad hispana, latina, que está aquí, inmigratoria. Acuérdese que ese vecindario, esa área, casi todas las personas que viven ahí, muchos de ellos son hispanos, son latinos, son inmigrantes, y tengo orgullo en saber que tenemos una relación con nuestra comunidad que tienen confianza con el departamento policiaco, con el departamento policiaco y reportaron, porque sin reportar el veneno que están vendiendo ahí sigue, envenenando a nuestra juventud, envenenando a nuestros niños, y queremos decirle a la comunidad, especialmente a la comunidad que es migratoria, que a lo mejor está indocumentada, gracias por su coraje, gracias por ser nuestro compañero y gracias por tener confianza con nosotros, porque sin los ojos y la cooperación de esa comunidad, no podemos hacer lo que hacemos. ¿Ok?
En un inicio habían comentado que los sospechosos eran de origen hispano. Esta situación cambió ahora. Que habían mencionado su identidad como hispano.
¿Quién dijo? ¿Nosotros? No. We didn't. No. I don't know who did that, but I didn't. Yo no di ninguna información sobre los sospechosos ayer. Encontramos marihuana, encontramos otra droga que pensamos que es o cocaína o fentanyl, no sabemos qué clase de droga, y encontramos varias armas de fuego, rifles largos y también revólveres.
So, as we just heard, 4 of the officers who were injured are in stable condition and will be discharged from the hospital sometime this week. One officer who did sustain a gunshot wound was discharged yesterday. 2 of the officers were shot in the face. One will have to undergo some surgery in the future. The other, fortunately, requires no surgery at all. The officer who sustained a knee injury underwent surgery and will be released soon. While all the officers injured are in seemingly good shape, the police chief still asks the community for their prayers and support. 2 suspects have been identified and apprehended. They are Regina Nicholas, who is 58 years old, and Dennis Tuttle, 59 years old. He was also involved in the gunfire. They recovered drugs and multiple guns from the home. This is a live look in Reading, Pennsylvania, where you can see some snow is starting to land. Here's just another look at that radar as we see the storm moving through the area. Well, just recently it was announced that Donald Trump's longtime friend Roger Stone has pleaded not guilty to charges in the special counsel's Russia investigation. Stone is appearing for his arraignment at the federal courthouse in Washington after spending the weekend blasting special counsel Robert Mueller's case against him as politically motivated. This was a live look as he just left in that vehicle. This is outside the courthouse. The self-proclaimed dirty trickster was arrested last week during a pre-dawn raid at his Florida home. He is charged in a 7-count indictment with obstruction, lying to Congress, and witness tampering. Prosecutors say he lied about the contents of his discussions with the Trump campaign, involving WikiLeaks and hacked material damaging to Hillary Clinton that the anti-secrecy group released during the 2016 campaign. Stone is also accused of corruptly influencing the testimony of another witness. As the race for 2020 begins to take shape, one potential candidate was heckled last night because he may help President Trump win, according to critics. Doug Luzader in Washington has more on that.
The anti-Trump field is getting pretty crowded now, and at least one potential candidate had a rough reception.
Sure, there was applause, but running for president is not everyone's cup of tea or coffee. Just ask former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, who was heckled at a book signing in New York.
Don't help elect Trump, you egotistical billionaire. Go back to Davos with the other billionaire elite who think they know how to run the world.
Why the hate for the billionaire barista? Because he's considering an independent run for president. And given his liberal pedigree, Democrats think he could divide the party and hand the election to President Trump. Adding to their evidence, billionaire Michael Bloomberg, who was mulling his own independent bid, just decided against it, writing, "In 2020, the great likelihood is that an independent would just split the anti-Trump vote and end up re-electing the president." Hence, Howard's heckler.
Calm down, people. It's very early. Don't worry so much. But you can tell Democrats are very jittery about something like this happening.
The president, on the other hand, seemed to be egging on Schultz, tweeting, "Howard Schultz doesn't have the guts to run for president." Other Democrats, meanwhile, are trying to gain steam, including California Senator Kamala Harris, who had a stunning turnout at an event in California, attended by some 20,000 supporters.
And perhaps because of that, Kamala Harris now has something of a target on her back, with some on the left going after her record as a DA, accusing her of being too tough on crime. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Well, Apple temporarily shuts down its group FaceTime app after a bug in the system raises privacy concerns. The bug allows iPhone users to listen in on the person they were calling on FaceTime without that person accepting the call. Apple temporarily disabled the app. The tech giant says the problem will be fixed and a software update will be released later this week. If you want to disable FaceTime for now, go to Settings, tap FaceTime, and click it off. Tracy Carrasco also spoke with Fox 29 Good Day regarding this, and here's more.
It's going pretty good there in Camelback. Apple disables its group FaceTime app after realizing a bug was allowing people to eavesdrop on other people without them knowing it.
Tracy, this could get a lot of people in trouble.
Absolutely, especially
if you were listening or seeing something you shouldn't have been.
Mhm.
But yes, this was a major glitch that allowed users to hear audio and view video from the other iPhone being called without the person even having to pick up. So this was first discovered by the website 9to5Mac, and then other people on social media tried this, and they started confirming that, yes, this bug, if you were using the iOS 12.1, this bug was still active. So Apple has now since disabled that group FaceTime feature, which is where they were able to kind of see other people's conversations or eavesdrop in. So they've disabled that, and now they're working on a software update. So I would say maybe just disable FaceTime altogether until they come up with that software update, just to be safe. Even though they've disabled the group face chat, I don't know. I would be a little worried because Apple has always prided themselves on being very conscientious when it comes to privacy and security. But for a bug like this to have gone undetected, that's pretty major.
It's incredibly major. I wish I knew technology better.
And just to know that that's even possible. Before someone picks up, you can listen in on them. Like, what does that say?
Of the consequences of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your phone's just laying there, and people are listening to what you're saying.
What
Mike's
you're
really
saying, or they
concerned.
could even see what you're doing if the
And they can
video
see you.
kicked in. Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of security reasons. We're having fun with it this morning, but think about,
Right. This could be very serious. So I'm glad they disabled it. And that's why whenever Apple puts out these new updates, I always wait. I don't immediately do it because there's always a bug or some issue that happens.
Yeah.
And then they have to pull back. So I usually wait a little bit.
Apple's releasing their earnings later today, so I will be curious to see if they say anything about this on their earnings call. They address the situation because I think they might have to.
Oh my God, yes. I just want to be full disclosure. I've been listening to you off your phone since 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Oh man, do I have, whoa. Tracy?
Exciting stuff, right?
I wish it was. All right, Tracy, we'll see you tomorrow.
Well, in Montgomery County, White Plain Township Police are looking for a man they say approached a little girl as she got off her bus stop. It happened last Wednesday around 3:45 in the afternoon. Police say a man in a dark green car tried to talk to a little girl who had just gotten off her bus at the intersection of Sunset Avenue and Midway Lane in Bluebell. We don't know exactly what the man said to the little girl, but neighbors are extremely concerned.
Kudos to the parents. She didn't approach the car. So it reinforces that how important it is for parents to make sure they're talking with their kids.
Police say the car had a stuffed Pokemon Squirtle character hanging from the rear view mirror and several magnets on the back. Well, we could learn soon the name of a top IBEW official linked to a federal investigation into Local 98. Yesterday, George Peltz pleaded guilty to charges which included giving that official thousands of dollars in gifts. Peltz owns MJK Electrical Corporation in Berlin, New Jersey. Peltz's attorney says he's not cooperating with the government. He is only accepting responsibility for the charges against him. Peltz could face up to 20 years in prison. Well, it is winter and there are colds spreading like wildfire. Here are some remedies that may help you overcome those sniffles.
Oh, can you go? I think, it's a fun game, but no.
Well, like the limbo?
Yeah. But this is not a fun game when it comes to the temperatures.
No.
And so a lot of people are getting sick. It's this weather, it's going up and down, and they don't know how to handle it. So a lot of people, you might think, oh, let me just take some medicine, that kind of thing. But what about the natural stuff? Are there some things you can just drink or eat that can make you feel better so you're not just stuffing your face with medicine?
If you tell somebody I got a cold or the flu, they say, can I bring some soup over to you? What can I bring to you?
And usually you think chicken noodle soup. Well, that's not the only soup.
There is science behind the remedy of chicken noodle soup. They've done studies on that, and it does relieve your symptoms, and so does this stuff, apparently.
Yes, and these are from local places. That's why we love it. So we brought in some places here.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, throughout the Delaware Valley. And we're going to talk about what they have that they say can really help alleviate your symptoms.
Andrew and I have studied the art of sushi in the area for years. But tell me about what you brought in. Where are you from?
I'm from PS & Co. at 17th and Locust, and this soup is based off my mom's recipe from Burma.
From
Burma. It's called mohinga. It's a healing breakfast soup.
Hold on.
Yes.
I see two different things here. Which one is the mohinga?
They're both the same. I just left one for you to make yourself.
Oh, she's going to put us to work.
Yeah, so
I don't know if people can see it. Well, I don't want to tip it over.
So we are 100% organic, vegan, and gluten-free. This can be grain-free with the noodles on the side. And you can make it to your own liking with the toppings we have here, like cilantro, scallions.
So what she's saying is, let me move this.
You're going to spill it.
Hey, Di, where can I move it where you can see it?
It's fine right there.
Right there, is that good? So look at the color, look
lot.
at the complexity of this thing.
There's a lot in there.
There's a lot going on in there.
So list some of the things while we're waiting for it
Sure.
to go in it.
So the soup is made from organic sweet potatoes, turmeric, lemongrass, ginger, garlic, all things that are going to make you feel better and heal you if you're having any sort of cold, sinus issue, flu.
Well, most of the things you just mentioned will cause drainage. You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
The spicier, the better.
Exactly.
So look at all these colors. Now, what I'm going to do is, what she brought in was basically a blank canvas. So I'm going to move this out and move in the blank canvas that she has here. So what is that liquid?
That's made with sweet potatoes, turmeric, lemongrass, ginger, garlic, olive oil.
Rewind.
So let's start. What should I start with?
Well, just making sure. Any allergies?
No.
No.
Okay, so this is scallions, Burmese fried onions, and
What do I
olive
put
oil.
in first?
Well, you can put in whichever you like first.
I'm going to go
Doesn't
scallions.
matter.
I shouldn't put the noodles in first?
Do you want noodles?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
What kind of noodles are they?
These are brown rice noodles with a little bit of seaweed, and we're going to squeeze a little bit of lime at the end.
Oh, man, those are nice and tender.
Yeah.
All right, scallions on top. Not the whole thing.
No,
No?
as much as you like.
What else do you want?
Cilantro
Ooh,
is
I
next.
love cilantro, yes.
Mexican parsley. What are
This
these
is
things?
Burmese fried onions and organic extra virgin cold pressed
I
olive oil.
have never had that. Is Miramar Burma?
Yes.
Okay.
That's like a political name for
I
it.
know.
Dry roasted peanuts.
It'll always be Burma to me.
Same here. I like you for that.
Thank you. I love you.
And then chili sesame oil. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. You want to
Yeah,
use
be
a
careful now.
spoon.
Whoa.
This is what's really going to clear your sinuses is chili oil.
And how fast does this work, or how many times do you have to eat it?
You eat it, you're going to start clearing your sinuses right away. And we have regulars who come in just for this soup every day
Really?
to do this. Yeah.
Let's go.
You just went right in. How spicy is it? Oh, I guess I should have moved it. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's spicy?
Oh, yeah, got a kick.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up.
My nose is running already.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That works. Hey, who are you?
I am Julia from Sip and
Oh,
Glow.
yeah.
Whoa! Sip and Glow. There used to be a Sip and Glow over on 20th? Or?
20th and Locust.
Yep.
Then we also have 17th and Sansom and 10th and South. So we're all over the place depending on where you need us.
Super duper.
Yeah, so what do you guys recommend then?
So I brought a couple of different options. So we have our Flu Fighter seasonal juice, this one here.
What's in it?
This is, we like to think of it as a little bit of everything. When you're sick, you don't just need one thing, you need a lot of different. So you've got some kale, orange, lemon, ginger. Then we also had some superfood add-ins of zinc and echinacea as well.
So the ginger should give you a kick to
Yes.
loosen everything up.
Exactly.
I would think. All right, what else are these little ones?
So then these we like to think of as our defense and our offense. This
Okay.
is our immunity and your healer. So our immunity is our version of a ginger shot, but just taken to the next level. So you have elderberry in there, you have apple cider vinegar, which is great as well. And
So
then
this is defense if you're already sick.
if you're starting to feel some symptoms.
And this is if you're feeling fine, but you just don't want to get sick.
So this is the offense. So this is your...
Sorry.
Drink it every day?
You could. People
Yeah.
definitely come in, and because they're so easy to grab and go, people just grab a handful.
Do you believe in apple cider vinegar?
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's strong,
It is.
but
I mean, fermentation is great for you. Lots of good bacteria. So if you have bad bacteria, might as well replace it with
I
the
say it
good.
almost every day. I look in the mirror and says, fermentation is good for you. What's your name?
Danielle with New Liberty Distillery.
Where's that?
It is in Old Kensington / Fishtown area.
Oh, yes, Fishtown is now becoming, Kensington, it's all spreading.
It's all, yes.
So you brought the whiskey.
I brought the whiskey. So basically we took our 10-year whiskey, we aged it in a maple syrup cask.
You make that yourself?
All
Wow.
by myself. So essentially we're making a hot toddy today. So it's 2 ounces of our maple cask whiskey.
Oh, that looks good.
Hot toddies, yes, that is a tried and true method.
Exactly. We add some star anise, a couple of, like orange peels, some lemon,
Lemon peel.
and hot water. Get your vitamin C. Also, star anise has a lot of properties that.
This is a classic hot
Exactly.
toddy.
Exactly.
Except
So-
you made this booze.
Yes. So, star anise also has properties that has fought influenza since like back in the day. So and it'll also help you sleep.
Oh, yeah, it'll put you to sleep all
Definitely
right.
help you sleep.
Depending on how much whiskey you put in there. That's what I would know.
Well, thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
And the best of health to all of you. That is great. Black Panther is back.
This is breaking right now in Oceanside, California, where one person was killed and a second trapped after a small plane crashed west of Oceanside Municipal Airport early today. This was from a police official, again in Oceanside, California. This is a live look, so just be warned if there's any graphic images.
Hello everyone, Paul Ruppel here with Fox 29 News Now. You're looking at the scene of a plane crash in Oceanside, California. We're told one person died in the crash and another person is trapped or was trapped in the crash. The officials are trying to open the plane and not entirely clear if they're conducting a rescue right now. We're going to take you shortly to a news conference in Camden County where crews are being prepared for the snow and cold. They're going to be providing an update on their preparations. This is at a Department of Public Works facility in Lindenwold, New Jersey. While we're waiting for that to begin, let me show you a shot of the snowflakes falling there. This is Reading, Pennsylvania. We'll get you out to that news conference shortly. But you're looking at a snowy scene in Reading, Pennsylvania. We'll get you to Camden County momentarily. While we're waiting for that news conference to get underway in Camden County, let me take you on a tour of our weather cameras from around the region. Here is a look at conditions around the Philadelphia region as we're expecting snow to accumulate in some places, especially from the city to the north and west. It'll start with some rain in Philadelphia, but it's going to be a snowy commute home perhaps in some of our northwestern suburbs. Some schools are canceling early or dismissing early. Some schools are canceled today. Let's take a look at the cameras now. All right, let's take a quick look at the stock market while we wait for this Camden County News Conference to get underway. Right now, stocks are up 74 points. Dow Jones Industrial Average at 24,603. While we wait for the officials to show us how they're preparing in Camden County, let's roll you through a little bit of our weather graphics and talk a little bit about what to expect later today. Here's another look at Reading, Pennsylvania, where you see the snow is falling right now. See if we can get a shot of Allentown, see if it's also snowing there. Here comes that shot. Then we had a coating on the ground there in Allentown this morning. Some flakes falling there. Our Susario says totals. Still looks like our afternoon transition from rain to snow will result in very light snow in the metro area. Higher totals as you move north and west. Next to nothing at the shore and in southern Delaware, and the storm is out of here by midnight. So right now we're calling for a coating to an inch from, looks like most of South Jersey and Delaware, south of Newcastle County, south of Kent County, I should say. The Philadelphia and northern and immediate suburbs, it looks like about 1 to 2 inches of snow. 2 to 5 as you move into Upper Bucks, western Montgomery County, Chester County, Lancaster, Reading, and Allentown. And then from those cities to the north and west, it's about 5 to 8 inches of snow. So here is a look at Ultimate Doppler right now. I've had a lot of Virgo on the radar this morning, a lot of snow falling but not quite reaching the ground, so you see snow bands on the radar, but not necessarily falling where we are in a lot of cases. That's different in some of the western suburbs, as I mentioned and showed, Reading and Allentown, where we are getting some snow falling. Right now, temperatures are 41 in Philadelphia, 30s to the north and west. And as you see, 40 in Wilmington, 40s for much of South Jersey, 36 in Trenton, and 37 in Wrightstown being some of the exceptions in our area. Mount Pocono, it's just 21 right now, and Allentown only 29. See some of that cold air that's headed our way in the coming days. Right now it's in the teens in Cleveland, Ohio, and Toronto, Canada. Only 8 in Bangor, Maine. 24 in Burlington, Vermont. Look at that, -7 right now in Minneapolis, only 4 in Chicago, or I believe they could set a record low temperature of 28 below. Down in Florida, they're sitting nice. Miami 64, Tampa 58, 56 in San Francisco, 43 up in Portland. Wind chill right now is making it feel colder than it is. 25, feels like 25 in Philadelphia right now. 20s across much of the area. Only 4 in Mount Pocono and 30 in Wildwood. So bundle up if you're headed outside. Make sure you protect yourself from frostbite. It will be getting colder, as we'll show you in the forecast here. It is a bit warmer than it was yesterday this time. I believe these are accurate. Let me double check real quick. Temperature change graphic. Yep, that's accurate as of just afternoon. So it is a bit warmer than it was yesterday, but Still pretty chilly with the wind chill. See, we've got 9-mile-per-hour winds right now in Philadelphia, sustained. 15 in Wilmington is the high spot, along with Wildwood. Single digits in some places, but you got 22 gusts of 22 miles per hour down in Atlantic City. Those wind chills appear to be from the about the 10 o'clock hour, so those might have been a little outdated. It's a little bit warmer than, it feels a little warmer out there than those numbers suggested. Let's get you a look at the visibilities right now. Not so good out west. That's where we saw the snow falling in places like Allentown and Reading. So watch out for that if you're headed out that way or out there right now. Here's our futurecast. Let me get ready so I can pause this for you. Oh, those are our temperatures. Here comes futurecast. You see, it will start as rain for a lot of these areas that are above the freezing mark, but at 5 o'clock, that rain-snow line starts to move into Philadelphia. By 7 o'clock, it's into about the midpoint of South Jersey. Except for the counties along the coast, you're mostly getting where you're mostly getting rain. Everybody else will be snow. Get some more snow through 10 o'clock, and by midnight, it's pretty much off the coast, maybe lingering in Cape May and some other places. Looked like there was a possibility of another little band of snow there coming through. Let's roll that back, and we'll see if we catch it on here. Little looks like some more light snow activity possibly on Wednesday. Not too much. Here's your larger picture there. Shows that possible second band of snow there on Wednesday. And here comes your 7-day forecast from the Fox 29 Weather Authority. Rain to snow, 42 on Tuesday. Overnight low of 19 before sunny, blustery, 30 degrees on Wednesday. Bitter cold on Thursday, 18 with a low of 4. Friday, cloudy and cold, 26. Saturday, a bit milder, 32. Sunday, mostly cloudy, 46. And the warmest temperature of the day, although it comes with a shower chance on Monday, high of 52. All right, it does look like we have a shot from Camden County. Let me show you that. Our crew is setting up there for the newser. It looks like it's raining a bit actually at the moment. Another shot of Allentown where the snow is falling. We'll get you out to that Camden County news conference momentarily. In the meantime, let's try to get you, this is one of our stories from Good Day Philadelphia this morning. We'll go with the shorter one for the moment. This is Jen Frederick at an interesting new landmark out in the, I believe this was in the Northern Liberty section of the city. Let me get you some more information here. Bebot. He's made his way from the Burning Man Festival to Northern Liberties, but who is Bebot? That's what Jen Frederick wanted to explain for us this morning. Here's her report. And this, I believe this report includes some work from our Fox 29 drone team as well, our flight team.
Oh, can you go? I think, it's a fun game, but no.
Well, like the limbo?
Yeah. But this is not a fun game when it comes to the temperatures.
No.
And so a lot of people are getting sick. It's this weather, it's going up and down, and they don't know how to handle it. So a lot of people, you might think, oh, let me just take some medicine, that kind of thing. But what about the natural stuff? Are there some things you can just drink or eat that can make you feel better so you're not just stuffing your face with medicine?
If you tell somebody I got a cold or the flu, they say, can I bring some soup over to you? What can I bring to you?
And usually you think chicken noodle soup. Well, that's not the only soup.
There is science behind the remedy of chicken noodle soup. They've done studies on that, and it does relieve your symptoms, and so does this stuff, apparently.
Yes, and these are from local places. That's why we love it. So we brought in some places here.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, throughout the Delaware Valley, and we're going to talk about what they have that they say can really help alleviate your symptoms.
Andrew and I have studied the art of sushi in the area for years. But tell me about what you brought in. Where are you from?
I'm from PS & Co. at 17th and Locust, and this soup is based off my mom's recipe from Burma. And it's called mohinga. It's a healing breakfast soup. Made
Hold on.
Yes.
I see two different things here. Which one is the mohinga?
They're both the same. I just left one for you to make yourself.
Oh, she's going to put us to work.
Yeah, so
I don't know if people can see it. Well, I don't want to tip it over.
So we are 100% organic, vegan, and gluten-free. This can be grain-free with the noodles on the side. And you can make it to your own liking with the toppings we have here, like cilantro, scallions.
So what she's saying is, let me move this.
You're going to spill it.
Hey, Guy, where can I move?
Hello again, everyone. It looks like I dialed up the wrong clip for you. I clicked it, but I didn't seem to transition to the right one. Sorry, that was the footage we showed you earlier about the cold remedies. Here is the aforementioned Bebot.
In Northern Liberties, get the kids over there because they have this giant, well, I'll just let Jen tell you what's over there. It's huge.
Yeah, it's Bebot, and they shouldn't come over here just yet because in about 3 weeks, the whole installation is actually going to be ready because someone in Philadelphia bought Bebot. So I think you guys have a picture from Burning Man. Burning Man is what Bebot was built for. There was an artist out of London, and she created it, and then a steel worker from Reno, Nevada, who actually assembled it. Those two came here to Northern Liberties about a week ago and started the beginning of Bebot. So this, by the way, is an image from our Fox 29 live drone team. Bill Anderson and Jared Vole, one of our camera guys, are making that work right now. Because Bebot has officially been given or gifted or sold to someone here in Philadelphia, Andrea, the artist, wasn't allowed to officially give us too much information because she promised she wouldn't talk to us, because the new owner is the new owner and they're going to do great stuff. But here's what I can tell you. She says, all I can say is that I'm enormously pleased and proud that Bebot has found his way to Philadelphia, a fabulous city that seems to love its public art. And it's my fervent hope that Philadelphians will take Bebot to their heart. So if you don't know where this is, we're basically in Northern Liberties. It was an interactive robot, he was, pardon me, in Burning Man. So again, we really don't know too much about what is going to happen to Bebot, but we do know that they said in 3 to 6 weeks, this will be a thing that children can interact with. So for now, it's cold. You probably don't want to bring them out here anyway, but if you are driving by, that's what it is.
Yeah, because some people are tweeting what is that big thing that just popped up? So good to know.
And I like the waving hand. It's just sort of like I come in peace kind of gesture.
Mm-hmm. Jan, have you ever been to Burning Man? Seems like that's up your alley.
I've never been to Burning Man, but I would like to go.
I would too, just
and
once.
I'd also, what's the other thing? I want to go to Coachella too.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, who doesn't?
That's better. Hey, look up at the drone. I want to see what you look like from a drone.
Should I walk out here?
Yeah. Get closer to the Bebot.
Am I going to, hold on a second. Am I going to,
oh, God. Oh, God.
That was a trick.
Oh, that's,
that was a trick. That was a trick by Jared.
It used to be the Piazza, but.
Oh, is that where it is? It's on top of a building?
No, but it's right
It's
by
near the Piazza, Northern Liberties.
It's in a field.
What do they call it?
Schmitz Commons. Schmitz Commons.
There's Jan. Hey, Jan!
Oh, look at you.
Oh, look at that! There we go, Running Man. From Burning Man to Running Man. Nicely done.
Just please don't fall.
Yeah, no, we're falling.
I love drones. You can see stuff from a perspective that you never could before.
It is pretty cool.
Really neat.
So that is Bebot, and an explanation of what you'll see popping up there in Northern Liberties. You might have, a couple minutes ago, heard me talking about the snow forecast. I could have just shown it to you here. Found it on our weather system here. We got our likely snow totals for you. There you see our coating to an inch for South Jersey and southern Delaware. 1 to 2 inches closer to the Philly metro area. 2 to 5 as you get a little to the north and west. Places like Chester County, upper Bucks County, western Montgomery County, and into the Lehigh Valley and Berks County and much of Lancaster County, and then 5 to 8 further north and west from there. So watch it on the roads, take it slow, be safe, make sure you get to your destination safely. Live look at Allentown. And let's get you the snow falling again in Reading here. There's your look at Reading. Looks like it's falling a bit more heavily there. Not much to speak of yet here in Philadelphia. Doesn't appear to be any precipitation at the moment on Benjamin Franklin Parkway here in the city. But I heard our photographer saying that it appeared to be raining a bit where they're about to talk in Lindenwold, Camden County. That's the news conference we're going to take you to momentarily. Here's a live look at Market Street. Looking towards City Hall here from our station at 4th and Market Streets. You can make out City Hall there in the upper left-hand corner. Also see the Federal Courthouse and the Independence Visitor Center there in the foreground, lower right, all the way over to the Wells Fargo building on the far right. And a little bit of the grass there on Independence Mall, headed toward the National Constitution Center. We do have one more story I was going to bring you. Well, we'll dial this up and we'll see if we need to pause. We'll bring it back. This is a fun story. 8 nurses, 8 months, 8 babies. The new moms from Bryn Mawr Hospital joined Fox 29 Good Day this morning.
Evelyn, this is typical women crying around here. There's been a baby boom over at Bryn Mawr Hospital. 8 nurses have given birth to 8 babies in less than 8 months, like 7 months. So the babies and the moms are all here with it. Woo! That's one of the coolest shots we've ever had on Good Day Philadelphia. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
I feel weird over here. Yeah, I've never been around this much estrogen. Oh, yes, I have. Well, look where I work. All right, let's start over there. This is the oldest child, right?
Yep,
so give me your name and the baby.
I'm Kristen. This is Graham.
Okay, hold on. Just slow down just a little bit so we can get a shot of you there. What's your name again?
Kristen.
And that's?
This is baby Graham.
Okay. And tell me where you're from. Y'all Philadelphians?
Yeah. Yes. But I'm from Burmese, yeah.
How about you?
My name's Alicia, and this is Evelyn.
Hello, Evelyn. I see you've calmed down a little bit. And you're kind of looking at me funny. All right, who's this?
I'm Scarlett, and this is Liam.
You're Liam? Hi, Liam.
Liam, yep.
Okay.
I'm Deirdre, and this is Nora.
Hi, Nora. Yes.
I'm Julie, and this is Owen.
Hello, Owen.
Hi, I'm Claire, and this is Emma.
Hi, Emma.
Hi, I'm Sonia, and this is Julian.
Hello, Julian.
I'm Christina, and this is Benjamin.
So if I got this right, he seems like the oldest then.
Yeah.
Evelyn. And then we go all the way around to the youngest.
Yes.
Evelyn, you want to get down and play?
Oh, he's trying to make her feel better.
I know. Do we have a romance going here? Let's put it down.
Put her down.
Oh, now he's crying. Oh, my God. Hey, Di, do you have any toys back there in the prop room? Something?
It's okay.
Karen is kind of a baby whisperer. You want to crawl in here, Karen, and help Evelyn? There you go. So you've probably had national attention, haven't you?
Not national, local.
Local. Oh, no, this is going to go national. Do you find it, we all find it unusual? Is this, don't you find it a little bit odd? No?
No, I love it. Yeah.
Well, we all love it.
But this isn't typical. It's just,
it is a different situation. You all work together.
Yes.
And what is the job over there at Bryn Mawr then?
So we're all labor and delivery and like postpartum and nursery nurses.
See, that just adds the level of uniqueness to this. So,
We just love what we do so much. So we just had to do it ourselves.
Let's go home and do one. Was there party or something? Like a hospital party you were all at and everybody got went crazy?
No.
No?
No. There is no pregnancy pact. There's no pinky swearing.
No pinky swear.
Together.
I'll get pregnant if you get pregnant.
Julie and I might have. She oriented me to labor and delivery. We might have.
So did you deliver each other's babies?
Yeah.
Well, give me an example. Who gave?
I was the first, and Alicia was Graham's nurse, and Julie was my nurse for my delivery.
And I was the nurse for Deirdre when she delivered.
So was it?
And Deirdre. And Julie was one of my nurses.
And Julie was one of my nurses too. Yeah. So yes, everyone.
What is going on? So you work together, and then all of a sudden, you're screaming and yelling, and a baby's coming out of the person, your coworker.
Yes.
Was that kind of interesting to see?
It was wonderful.
It's so lucky.
Yeah. It's so fun. Felt safer.
Were you surprised by the behavior of anybody here?
I don't think so. No, I don't know. You'd have to.
But did you? I mean, you're so used to delivering on yourself, helping other people. Did you talk through it? The delivery. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this now and stuff like that. I mean, what you're supposed to do.
Well, it's a little bit different when it's yourself, so it's really nice to have the support. Like, for example, I didn't know when I should go to the hospital.
All right.
And it's really nice to have your coworkers to text and say, should I go now?
Do any of the dads work at Bryn Mawr Hospital?
No. That was a lot of the jokes that we got online, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is anybody here pregnant?
No.
I'm not. That would be my announcement to my husband right now.
He just passed out. Well, congratulations. This is so cool. Thanks for bringing them by.
And one other cool thing is that we are moving into a new building, so this was the last, that picture that we got was the last in the old building.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So do you think you'll stay in touch? Oh, somebody just blew a moccasin. Do you think I guess you're linked together forever, don't you think?
And we have play dates already.
Yeah. You already have play dates.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, I have a question.
Yes, Alex?
So who's working at the hospital right now? You're all here.
Oh, my God.
Our managers weren't thrilled with the timing.
Did anybody have a child, within a day of each other?
We were about a week apart.
Week apart.
Yeah.
We were.
All right, calm down. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
That's so cool. All right, I see you. Here's Bob.
Nice story there. Congratulations to all the families there with their new children and youngins, and we might have broken some news there. Mike having some fun with the ladies and their young ones, and Karen helping to keep them calm there. Fun story there from Good Day Philadelphia this morning. As we mentioned, we're waiting for a news conference to get underway in Camden County. Where they're going to be talking about the weather forecast this afternoon and how they're preparing. Looks like a salt shed in the background there. Probably loading up the trucks and getting ready to, probably already salting the roads. Although with the rain falling, sometimes they'll try and hold off until a little closer until the frozen precipitation begins. Again, your look at ultimate Doppler radar. We do have some closings coming in to the Fox 29 Weather Authority. See if I can bring those up for you. I'll get those for you for during the news conference. got one more story from Good Day Philadelphia this morning. I don't think we've shown you yet. This may not be a story that affects everyone, but good to know if you are in the market for a pet. Hedgehogs have become quite the popular pet. However, there's a warning out there for anyone who's thinking about getting in contact with one. Fox 29 Good Day spoke with some experts this morning about what to watch for.
They're so cute, and I followed them on social media on Twitter. There's a whole app,
really?
and you can like see them, and they're so cute. And lots of other people like them, and some people have them for pets, but there's a big warning.
Yes, you should be concerned because they're capable of spreading salmonella if you're not careful. So we're talking about hedgehogs today. 11 people have reportedly been infected with the strain of the bacterial disease, and the way they contracted it might actually surprise you.
So that's because I got it from the little hedgehogs. People have them, especially children. So we have Kristen Lewis-Waldron, who's the director of education from our Philly Zoo, and she brought her friend with her, Topher, and the lovely woman holding
Danny.
Topher. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
So like Karen says, a lot of people think they're so cute, and I mean, looking at it is very cute. But how are people contracting salmonella then?
So animals like this, and there are other small mammals that also can have salmonella, just by handling it. So we always encourage you to handle them with gloves. Wash your hands, obviously. Don't let them walk around your house near food prep areas. They just have it on them. And so you always have to be extra cautious. This is an animal, though, we consider proceed with caution. It's a highly specialized pet.
But do they make okay pets, though?
So it's one of those animals that you really need to do your research and think about your own lifestyle, your time commitment, your resources. They have a specialized diet, so they do require a little extra care. They're also
that, Karen?
I know, they're so cute. I would love to have one. In New Jersey, you need a permit, I think, to get one. What are the rules in the other states, Pennsylvania and Delaware?
Well, Pennsylvania, they're actually illegal as a pet, so you can't have them in the state. New Jersey, you need a permit. Other states vary. Delaware, it's fine. It's varied.
Okay. Well, or if you can't have them as a pet, you can always go to the zoo.
Yes, you can see them in our small mammal house. Topher here lives in Kids EU. He's one of our ambassador animals that travels. He was actually named after the kids from Children's Hospital. St. Christopher's named him. So he's a very popular little guy.
And we can see why.
Well, and they roll up in a little ball when they get afraid, and they can be really skittish. So some of the other fear is that they just sort of ball up and like run away really fast.
Yes, one of the other things about having them as a pet is they don't like a lot of noise and commotion. So having young children in the house or lots of noise might be a little stressful for hedgehogs. And they have those special muscles that allow them to roll up in that tight ball.
But it sounds like when it comes to this report, you're not really surprised.
No, because we always use extra caution when we are talking to people about thinking about pets, things like reptiles and small mammals. It is one of the threats that they pose with salmonella. It's a possibility.
And even now, that's why you guys are holding what is it, tofu?
Topher.
Topher.
He looks like Topher.
Yes, he does look like tofu. But that's why Danny is holding Topher. Why can't I get that right instead of us? But when kids, can they come and can they get up close to Topher?
Yes. And a lot of our other animals in Kids EU that are ambassador animals. And they are also in the small mammal house, too.
Also, like a lot of times when you go to like a petting zoo, the advice is always to wash your hands afterward, and that can be the big concern,
Absolutely.
Because you could have the same problem with lizards or turtles.
Exactly, yes. They do carry salmonellas potentially. So always wash your hands. That's the best tip.
Is he spiky?
Yes.
So it can't hurt?
It feels like bristles of a brush, actually.
Oh, that's not too bad then.
Not too bad.
Okay. Now, what type of animal is it? Is it in the rat family? Or
no, actually, its closest relative is a shrew. It's not a rodent. It's an insectivore, so they're pretty unique. This particular animal's from Africa. This type of hedgehog. There's actually a variety of different types of hedgehogs.
And how long is their lifespan?
About 3 to 5 years, but they can live up to 10 years. They have a pretty short lifespan, like other small mammals.
And how old is Topher?
He's not quite a year old, and he was born in our small mammal house.
How big do they get?
He's full grown.
Okay. Full grown.
So one of the things we actually do have information at the zoo about choosing your pets wisely. It's called Best Bets for Pets. So you can come to our Kids EU and learn all about what do you do about, thinking you want a hedgehog for a pet
advice.
or, any other animal you're considering.
Those legs, I just can't with those legs. That little
He's doing a little dance.
Karen is loving everything about Topher.
Thank you for bringing him in. It's good advice.
You.
We do get it. Oh, he's so cute.
Very cute.
Thank you both. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So you can go see Topher at the zoo if you want to say hello. Coming up on
It's a cute little pet there. Apparently illegal in Pennsylvania, but other places. and certainly one that, as they said, you need to exercise caution and know what you're doing before you become a aspiring owner. Paul Ruppel here with Fox 29. We're again waiting a news conference where Camden County officials are going to lay out their plans and preparations for the snow that we're getting this afternoon. You're looking at Ultimate Doppler showing the storm. Let me see if I can give you, I believe I know how to do this. We'll get you school closings scrolling at the bottom of the screen here. There we go. Switch over to some closings for you. And we'll give you the time and temperature still. There at the bottom left corner of the screen. Here again is the are the snow amounts, what we're expecting here. Get you a live look at Reading. Looks like the snow is picking up a bit there. Falling at a pretty good clip. Let's see. Grassy surfaces starting to show some accumulation. Take a glance at Allentown. See, they started off the morning with a dusting or coating. Not quite coating the roads yet. See, it's starting to show on some of the shoulders. Here's Doylestown in Bucks County. See some flurry activity, but not as much. No coating on the ground there, as far as we can see from here. We talk a little bit about the cold. Governor Tom Wolf and state officials issued a press release a short while ago, warning residents to stay safe while outdoors this week as temperatures are forecast to be below zero, with wind chills making it feel like up to minus 35 degrees in some locations throughout Pennsylvania, beginning overnight tonight through Thursday. As always, safety for Pennsylvanians and travelers to our state is my priority, Governor Wolf said. In dangerously cold weather means staying inside as much as possible, paying attention to weather forecasts, and checking on friends and neighbors, especially the elderly. Of course, you need to be cautious of hypothermia and frostbite, the two dangers with this potentially fatal conditions that can occur during extreme cold weather like this. Of course, it won't be as cold here as it will be in some other parts of the state, and as well as other parts of the country. Places like Chicago and Minneapolis are going to be in the throes of extreme cold. The CDC is saying effective layering involves an inner layer that goes against your skin and should hold body heat and not absorb moisture. Choose materials made of wool, silk, or polypropylene instead of cotton. Insulation layer. This layer retains your body heat to keep you warm. Fabrics that work best include natural fibers like wool or goose down, synthetic fleece. This is often known as a soft shell. And the outer layer would be your hard shell. It protects you from the wind, rain, and snow. Should preferably be water and wind resistant to reduce the loss of body heat. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation has issued some road restrictions to increase safety, reduce accidents, and allow PennDOT crews to maintain roads uninhibited. You can always check 511pa.com for the latest. That's free and available 24 hours a day, Pennsylvania officials say. You can also check along a specific route using their Check My Route tool. And you may want to Invest in a vehicle emergency kit. It should be prepared or stocked containing items like non-perishable food, water, first aid supplies, warm clothes, a blanket, cell phone charger, and a small snow shovel. We'll change our shot here while we're talking. Let's go back to Reading. A pretty snowfall right now out in Berks County. As far as driving in these conditions, and when you encounter a plow truck, these are some of the recommendations from PennDOT. Stay at least 6 car lengths behind an operating plow truck, and remember that the main plow is wider than the truck. Be alert, since plow trucks generally travel much more slowly than other traffic. When a plow truck is traveling toward you, move as far away from the center of the road as is safely possible. And remember that snow can obscure the actual snowplow width. Never try to pass between several trucks plowing side by side in a plow train. The weight of the snow thrown from the plow can quickly cause smaller vehicles to lose control. It appears that our news conference out at, I believe this was Lindenwold in Camden County, is about to get underway.
All hands on deck, just like the last storm we had during MLK. So everyone is out here trying to prep, as well as make sure that our salt trucks are filled with salt.
Are you grinding the roads or salting them?
No, we are going to salt the roads. Not right now while it's raining, but we have a small window. So we're monitoring our system right now because we have a small window when it starts snowing. That's when we start putting the salt throughout our 1,200 lane miles of road.
Are you worried that that salt might run off because of the rain, or you think the rain's going to stop and it'll just snow then?
So that's where the window is. It's really critical between the rain and the snow, that once it starts snowing, that's when these trucks will be out there salting our roads.
And it looks like that might happen during rush hour.
Unfortunately, yes. So if you do see one of our trucks out there salting the roads during rush hour, I advise everyone to make sure that they are 6 car lengths behind our trucks or any of our equipments that are out there, because safety is paramount.
Can you just stress how important it is to drive slow, to not pass one of these salt trucks? What happens if you do?
Yes, absolutely. So please try not to pass the salt trucks, and make sure that you are 6 car lengths behind the truck, and make sure that you are driving at the speed that you're given, or even slower, just because it has changed into snow, as well as now the temperature is dropping. So there's going to be slick areas, so safety is paramount throughout this county.
Yeah, does that change how you're salting because the ground might freeze up?
Right, so that's why we have that critical time, and that's why we're monitoring the system, so that we put as much salt as possible on our roads, so that there is minimal slickness. I mean, we can't get every little corner and nook and cranny, but we're going to try our best to do the best to salt all our roads, our 1,200 lane mile roads.
You're not adding extra salt or anything like that?
It's not extra salt kind of thing. It's more like we should make sure that it's salted, so that we could soak up all that the freezing slushiness that's going to be out there when the temperature drops.
How long are crews going to be out till overnight?
Yes, that's what we're expecting, is so that, like I said, it's all hands on deck into tonight, and there's going to be periodic code blue throughout the county and until Sunday. And we're going to make sure that it's going to be code blue on Thursday because of the temperature being so low and very, very cold. It's going to be code blue on Thursday.
Do you have numbers of how many trucks are out, how many crews are out?
So here in this facility, there is over 100 equipment on our site. So it's all here, all is being filled with salt, and so we're ready.
How helpful is it that snow isn't really starting until after rush hour?
How helpful here in New Jersey? It is a little bit helpful because we have that window, so we can salt our roads immediately once it starts to snow. It depends on the system, so it's going to all depend on how much. But we've been getting over 2,000 tons of salt delivered. So this is only just one of the 3 salt barns that we have throughout this county. So we're ready with salt.
I think a normal snowstorm is about
250 tons. 250 on the average, yeah.
You about 250.
About 250 tons we would use on an average, yeah, on an average storm.
Anything else, guys?
We're good?
I mean, just talking about trees.
If the trees were down?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just
Yep.
equipment's all set and ready to go.
Okay. So if there are any trees that are going to be down, or just because it's raining and snowing and the ground's going to be wet and loose, when there is a tree down, please call us, and we have our tree equipment ready to go as well, all fueled up. Oh yes, and then and because of the tree, yeah, you're right. Because of the tree, you know, if the tree is definitely down, there's going to be power outages according to that. So make sure you don't call 911, but you call your utility company as soon as possible so that they can make sure that their crew is out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that good? All right. Thank you.
You've been watching a Kennedy County official brief the press about preparations for the wintry weather that is expected in our area. You're looking at ultimate Doppler radar at the snow that is falling in certain areas. There is a little bit of erga there. Some of it is not making it to the ground. There's also some rain falling in New Jersey. Our photographer had a nice close-up shot of the rain when he first got there and was showing that. Of course, in other places like Reading, Pennsylvania, the rain is continuing to fall. So make sure you download the Fox 29 Weather Authority app to get the latest weather conditions, our latest forecasts, the hourly forecast to know what to expect when you're driving, when your area could, if it's not already at the freezing point, could reach the freezing point. See the crews here demonstrating how they fill some of the salt trucks and get them out on the roads. Suspect they'll be using a lot more salt than brine today, and especially in areas where that transition is going to occur from rain to snow, because you don't want all that brine to wash away. So you heard the official there talking about it being a very difficult choice, you know, trying to monitor the forecast and find out exactly where to be, you know, exactly when to begin their salting operations so as not to have that wash away. Of course, we're expecting higher snow totals up in the northwest suburbs. The shot we've been showing you a bit of, this is Reading, Pennsylvania. Snow is falling at the moment. Show you a couple more locations before we sign off. Quick look at Allentown. Looks like the wind's picking up a little bit there. Some more flakes flying. Glance at Doylestown as well. not much falling in closer to the city. As we mentioned, some rain. Here are those crews in Camden County. Working to get ready here. Lindenwold, New Jersey at the Department of Public Works. Our photographer getting some shots here of the salt trucks getting loaded up. Sometimes you'll see our camera crews awfully zoomed in at events or panning some members of the audience. Sometimes they're getting cutaway shots so they can show, some shots where people are talking on air to go with their packages and for footage for during their newscasts. The rain is falling there in Kenney County. Eventually, it's supposed to be snow in the forecast. We expect that changeover to happen later today. Take a look at where temperatures are at the moment one more time. Here come your current temperatures. Still 41 in Philadelphia, so it might not be a changeover for a couple hours yet. Sounds of winter. Alrighty, I want to thank you for joining us today on Fox 29 News Now. For Curry, your host earlier this morning, and myself, Paul Ruppel, thank you very much for being with us. Have a great rest of your day. Stay warm out there. Be safe on the roads. And we'll see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. after Good Day Philadelphia. Have a great day.